Hey over there, Joe Lunchbox.
And Joy Nightingale.
And today we've landed right here in New York City. Now today we have a treat for you. We're going to explore some of the tourist attractions in Lower Manhattan. So what we're doing is, we're starting here on Pearl Street in front of Fraunces Tavern. We'll talk about that in a second. But the main meat of this video is we're about to head a few blocks north to South Street Seaport and show you what that's all about. Me and Joy loved it. We've been there since we've been a kid. It got a little annihilated in Hurricane Sandy. We haven't seen it since then. Excited to go back, go on some big ship, and see what's happening at South Street Seaport. So hopefully you like this kind of stuff. If you do, you should like this video, subscribe, ring the bell, comment down below, share it with all your friends. It's greatly appreciated. We love it if you're first time, and we love it when you come back to see us as well. So, ready to do this, Joy?
Let's do this.
Step right up, let's go for this ride. There it is, Fraunces Tavern, Block Historic District. Now this tavern here is New York's oldest tavern. Now people might go, wait, I heard McSorley's, that's the oldest. No, McSorley's is the oldest that's continuously run. This is way earlier. We actually have some historic information on this placard about exploring Lower Manhattan, about when 1762 Samuel Francis named his Queen's Head Tavern after Queen Charlotte, wife of King George III. Famous for his cooking, especially desserts. Ooh!
Yum, yum.
The reason this tavern is so important is that it actually is an old watering hole of the founding fathers of the United States. And an important event happened here December 4th, 1783. George Washington gathered with a few officers 9 days after the last of the British troops left American soil after the Revolutionary War. And there, he thanked them for their service and bid them a final farewell as he was returning home after the war. Knowing that that happened right in this building, that's pretty cool. And you could come here, and it's now a tavern again. You could eat here. You could see a museum here. Fraunces Tavern is a cool thing. Fraunces Tavern. Erected in 1719, Chamber of Commerce founded here 1768. Washington's farewell to his officers, December 4th, 1783. Centennial celebration of Washington's farewell, 1883. Sons of the Revolution reorganized here December 4th, 1883. Building purchased and restored by the Sons of the Revolution as a memorial to Frederick Talmadge, 1905. Ceremonial tending restoration December 4th, 1907. You can see it's actually on the National Register of Historic Landmarks. And that's what we were just talking about, George Washington saying bye to his troops, an emotional farewell. It is interesting now coming to Independence Bar. Beer revolutions.
Supporting America's independent brewers.
Like I said, bar, restaurant, and museum established 1762. Ooh, lunch like Scotch eggs, local oysters, plantain fritters. So wait, you're saying I could eat where George Washington ate? This spot looks so cool. We figured since we're here, we might as well eat where George Washington ate. Even though I'm gonna go real crazy and go for traditional Irish breakfast. It's nothing to do with the Revolutionary War at all. It sounds tasty. We got our Scotch eggs. There's only one egg. This might be my new favorite food. We're not here for a food review.
We're not here for a food review, but we just totally wanted to show you what we got. I got the berry French toast, and he got a traditional Irish breakfast. But totally not a food review.
I figured George Washington ate here, we have to at least eat here.
And on that note, bye guys.
A great thing is looking at a spot where George Washington ate. I love New York. We could go from a tavern from the 1700s to skyscrapers to now. And this city has been layered and layered and layered on top of each other. So much so that we actually have the archaeology of Statue Street. The first large-scale archaeological excavation in New York City was conducted on this block in 1979 and 1980. Excavation yielded important cultural materials from the 17th through 19th century. Now what's cool is we actually have a porthole to that archaeological site, which now looks like a lot of plants are living in. But don't worry, there's more than just one porthole. Let's see. This one looks a lot better.
There we go.
Here we go. This is what I wanted. Now we can see. So under this big building right here, we can see the foundation of old buildings from New York hundreds of years ago. I do think it is a cool feature, just randomly on the street here on Pearl Street, looking at the different layers. Something from the 18th century. Let's see if we can see it. If we get rid of the glare.
Dates from the first third of the 18th century.
Looking now an old well from the first third of the 18th century. It's pretty cool. I wonder how many people just walk by not realizing that you're literally walking by history, or you're walking over history. If only there was like a pushpin or something that said where I was. Oh, the Seaport, there it is. I like how the South Street Seaport here becomes like an outdoor walking area. A lot of it's closed off to cars. You're able to walk down the old cobblestones. We have Fulton Market, then the pier that was washed away in Sandy up ahead, and a big ship we get to go on, which is part of the museum. And here's what it is: South Street Seaport Museum, New York's interactive historic experience. We got tickets online. You can purchase tickets here. Tickets were actually free, and we're gonna go on the ship wave tree, and it isn't a time entry, but I'm excited that we get to go check out some of this. You can see the stuff that is free and stuff that is paid. See, purchase tickets for the add-ons, but we get to go to Brownie and Company Stationery, a fine goods emporium, and we can go on the ship wave tree for free. Bone and Company Stationery. Some old printing press. It is a gift shop, but we can see some of the old stuff that's still left behind from the day when it was a printing shop. Now that's some emergency brake if I ever seen one. Another part of the South Street Seaport Museum is this lighthouse. This is a Titanic Memorial Lighthouse that was originally erected in 1913 in a different location and was moved here to become part of the South Street Seaport Museum. I remember buying fossils and gems and minerals in one of these stores when I was a kid. Another one, I have a little carved wood sailor. It was like a piratey themed store when I was a kid here. Sometimes in summers, there'd be street performers here, seeing men juggle fire. Those are the things I love about South Street. We did come in the winter, so it's not as popping as could be. But when you think of funny things, we have a boxing gym, Hit the Deck Boxing Gym. Talking about hitting the deck like the ship. The South Street Seaport Museum. Open today, free. You have a cute little exhibit on Eric Carle.
Now look at this.
You might know him as the author that did The Very Hungry Caterpillar. I think it's cool. Mr. Seahorse, House for a Hermit Crab. It's a cute little kids area. Is from Lightship Relief, which served as a relief or temporary placement for lightships in the waters of Rhode Island, New York from 1905 to 42 and 47 to 60. It's funny things you find in corners of museums. Penelope. This unfinished figurehead is the work of the late museum's master's woodcarver, Sal Polisi. Ships have always received rich religious and or mythological decorations. The golden age of ship's carving was in 17th century Europe, where life-size or even larger figureheads were carved. Penelope, 2005 to 2015. Carved by Salvatore Polisi, who lived from 1935 to 2015. And that's why it's sitting here unfinished. Imagine his last big art piece, big carving. One of the boats we get to go on, the Waiver Tree. I know, you're excited. We haven't done this in a while.
Oh, the last time we did, it was like, okay, it was summer, and it was actually really nice.
Summer of 2006.
But the most funniest thing is like, oh no, I
No, my mistake, 2007.
It was, yeah. It was a while ago.
I know, a while ago. But you know what? We have never been on this ship.
No, we haven't.
So if you do come to the museum, like I said, it was free for us to get here. We are about to take a tour of the Ambrose, an old lightship. Pier 16, take a guided tour of the lightship Ambrose. So what we're standing on right now is Pier 16 with the waiver tree and the Ambrose. But this big building behind it is the new Pier 17. That was one of the buildings that got destroyed with Sandy. I haven't been in the new one. We're excited to go there. We're gonna do that after we do the tours of these ships. I was just telling Joy I'd love to take this little boat out, and then I see it rocking like that, and I'm like, I don't know how I'd handle going out on this boat, but I still would love to do it. This is one of the parts of the museum that is an add-on. You actually can go out on this boat, but that one you have to plan a visit to actually go, and I think this is not a free part. You have to pay to take this part, but it still is a cool experience. Watching this boat rock back and forth, it reminds me of the Noah's Ark ride at Kennywood. It's like a walk-through funhouse. We'll put a link down below to when we were in Kennywood and went on that walk-through funhouse. This, I don't think I'm going to see animatronic animals like that one, though.
The only problem is that all the way out there where the channel begins, there is no way to mark it. There is no kind of convenient rock where they could build a lighthouse. So instead, they had to build a light ship. That's what this is here. Light ships as an idea have been around for a long time, all the way back to like the ancient Greeks. But until around the time this one was built, they were usually repurposed. But this one was built for this job. So it's built really for 3 different tasks. It needs to stay on its station, she needs to be seen, and she needs to be heard. So as far as staying put, we've got these really big anchors here. So this is the backup. And you can see that it's not really the kind that you get like tattooed on your arm, unless you're really cool. It's a mushroom anchor. So this is the part that faces downward, and it goes in and kind of buries itself in the sand. So it's really good for the kind of soft, sandy bottoms that they have out there. Also need to be seen at all times. So during the day, the bright red paint job should help. You've also got lanterns for the night. So one of them would be on and flashing, and one of them would be a backup. But if there's something wrong with that, you know, you always need a backup. So they've got this bell, which most ships would have a bell. They would use them, you know, to end watches and things like that, to tell sailors what the next step of the day was. But this one obviously is to warn people if it gets really nasty out. So I'll ring it now, but it's pretty loud.
Would they try to match the pattern with the bell, or just ringing the bell?
I think they had to be kind of desperate to get to the bell, to be honest. So this here is the pilot house, or the wheelhouse. You could probably guess why. And on most ships, this is kind of the command center. This is where a lot of the decisions are being made. It's where the ship is being steered, all of that. But since this ship was in one place almost all the time, they didn't actually need to use it very often. We've got the binnacle. So this thing does not at the moment have a compass in it, but it would have been the housing for the compass. The reason that they need this whole kind of contraption around it is because the ship is made of iron, so it has a strong magnetic field of its own, and the compass would get confused. We're going to see in a second some of the, you know, amenities that the sailors had. But when this ship was launched in 1908, most people did not have heat in their houses. Most people didn't have electricity or indoor plumbing. So the people working on this ship, at first at least, would have been, you know, living pretty large. Yeah, so we're right, you know, underneath where we just were, in the windlass room, and all of the equipment in the middle is just to raise the anchors, because you remember they're quite heavy, so we've got big chains, big brakes on them so they don't go anywhere. And then on the main anchor chain, you can see too, they've got these kind of shock absorbers. Yeah, so this area would be where the sailors spent their time when they weren't working. So there would have been a table in the middle for them to eat their meals at, to play their, you know, poker and write their letters and do all the other things that you can see You know, they can't use like solar power or whatever. Everything that they could use, someone needs to fuel. So basically that's the reason. And then everything else kind of supports like the sound and light. And similar to working on a regular lighthouse, a lot of the actual job is just like waiting for an emergency to happen, like waiting for you to be needed. You don't really get to see the world in the same way necessarily. At the same time, the barriers to entry are very low. So people who aren't very experienced can do it. You can see the galley in there, so where they would have cooked everything, which has all the regular kitchen stuff. There's a little sink and counters and a stove and things like that. But what's kind of cute is that they've got a railing around the stove so that stuff can't slide off. But then they've also got a little handle up top for the cook to hold on to, if the water gets rough. Probably been maybe 12 crewmen on board, something like that.
And how long, when was the ship retired from that job?
1964. So it had a long career. So this is just a hallway, of course, but beneath us are the coal bunkers and the water tanks. So here, probably below us, is the engine room. So it extends in either direction. You know, there's all kinds of different equipment down there. But when this ship first was launched in 1908, it was steam powered, like a lot of stuff was. So the same as a steam engine, someone had to stand down there and shovel coal into it about once every 10 seconds. So this is a little nicer, right? It's a little swankier. This is where the officers would have stayed.
Is this actually a naval ship?
It is not a naval ship. There's officers on every ship.
Okay.
So they would have had a captain, a first mate, and 2 engineers. So we do have, a picture of some of the officers back in the day. So they would have had a bit more privacy than the sailors, if you look in there. And you can see that there's definitely, a difference in how it looks, how comfortable it may be. So this ship got its first piece of radio equipment in 1919, so quite a while ago. It was what they call a radio beacon. So it would send out a signal, and if you were out on the ocean and you had the right equipment, you could wave a wand around, and when it was pointing towards this ship, it would make a noise, and then you would follow the stick. But it does take a little while for this to get going, so many light ships did get run down by larger ships. This ship did not get run over, of course, because she's still but the Ambrose light ship, a different Ambrose light ship, because there is more than one, did get run over. Everyone got off them, so it's okay. But the bell is in the museum, so someone must have gone down. Around 1960, there was kind of a change where offshore oil drilling became a big enough industry that they got really good at building towers. So gradually, most light ships were replaced by towers, including this one. So the tower was finished in 1967, so that's when the last light ship abandoned post. But yeah, it's really just a question of technology. But the buoy that's out there now is, relatively low tech, really. It does have solar panels, so it has a light on it. And then it has a structure on the inside so that when the sea gets rough and it gets raised up, when it comes back down, air gets forced through it and it makes kind of a big hooting sound.
Interesting learning about the Ambrose. Imagine befriending your food because you have to keep it for a while.
We're to pass through the galley here.
Passing through the galley.
I think said 30 people, and one of them was the galley man that made the meals.
Is a big ship for only 30 people? Because it was carrying more cargo.
These cabinets are currently actually filled with modern food from this year and age because there are volunteers and contractors who work on this vessel tirelessly 24/7, keeping this ship the way that it looks nowadays. 30 people in total.
In the crew's quarters. 30 people in this ship.
This here Currently in an area known as the forecastle, sometimes abbreviated to the forecastle if you're a sailor and you're a slick talker and you speak fast just like this. This is where 20 of our 30 crew members would stay in bunks similar to these. These have the exact dimensions as the bunks that used to exist here, but notice they were originally metal. This was one of 12 ships that belonged to Queen Victoria, moving around using wind power. Steam power had already existed for over 100 years at this point, so why would you use wind power instead? How much does it cost to use wind, folks?
$0.
$3.99, baby. It is easy. You just gotta raise those sails and everything will do the rest. You don't need to burn hundreds of thousands of pounds of coal. This here in my hands. Can anyone guess what food item this used to be once upon a time?
Oats. Oatmeal?
Would you folks believe me if I told you that once upon a time this was a bagel, in fact? So why does this look similar to what we're seeing right here? That is because this bagel was made with water, of course. And that means over time, that material is going to get soggy, is going to spoil. We don't want any of those similarities to happen to our food supply on this ship. So we would carry dry food, specifically hardtack. Hardtack for a reason. How would you actually eat these bad boys? You would be given this much water per day. You can take a look at the actual conditions of the sailors behind us. These are taken from the late 1800s into the early 1900s. This photo is from the year 1900 exactly. And we could see that these sailors would use this amount of water purely for drinking and for helping break down their hardtack. So they dip into this water. Kind of looks like a graham cracker. Yeah, it's got that consistency. Might taste a little bit like a dog biscuit. But
It smelled
I was
like
thinking
it.
dog biscuit.
It smelled like
folks
it.
can place these back.
I like how painted all over the ship is the rose.
Down to the cargo hold.
Back, 325 feet, folks. That's the average size of an American football field. Only way in or out of the cargo hold in 1885. These stairs that we came down, those were added in the 1970s, so they would not be able to easily walk down here. Your only source of light would be through those cargo hatches directly above, as you can see in that photo. When you're moving barrels, you would be lowering them into what we call the ribs of the cargo hold. It looks like the whale ribs. However, there is what we call a cement keel down the middle. That's where we stack crates vertically. So you stack those crates on top of each other and you roll the barrels into the side. Now, if you have one barrel that weighs 110 pounds, look for the 110 line, roll it right on there. If you have a second barrel that weighs 110, look for 110 on the opposite side. Bam! Oops! Look what you did, folks. You used your cargo and you're naturally balancing out the ship. This ship comes from Liverpool, built out of Liverpool in 1885. One of 12 ships that belong to our wonderful Queen Victoria here in England, of course. And how does it relate to New York history, though? How does it help tell our story? This ship specifically helped with the growth of Manhattan streets through the delivery, through the movement of bricks and cobblestones that help pave the streets of Manhattan. Inside of the burlap sacks made out of that jute material, you might be carrying up to 100 pounds of what do we have here, folks? Any guesses? Coal, exactly. But not just any coal. Feel this bad boy. Does it leave any stains on your fingers? No, this is refined coal. This Chilean refined coal would burn for longer, which means you can get faster speeds and further distances. That's how you make a trip across from Europe into America in just under 4 weeks. So, there was a lot of what we call surplus cotton that was already harvested and was ready to hit the European markets. This was one of 12 ships that helped with that. Queen V, she made a killing off of this stuff, let me tell you. There's actual quality grade things in your hand, folks, so please be very, very careful with it as you pass it around. I will have to do a perimeter sweep if it falls, so please help me on that front. Repeat this
Ship
part.
really went around the world a bunch of times.
This here's our interactive map, and when I say interactive, I mean I'm going to interact with it right now. This vessel moved around from the years 1885, as I mentioned, up into the year 1910. What happened during that year after 25 years of sailing? You might be wondering to yourself, what ended the career of the cargo ship Wavertree? Now, we do have an image of precisely what ended the time of this wonderful vessel. As I mentioned, this ship started its sail out of a place known as Southampton, England, not far from where London is, right over here on the map. And it is what is known as a tramp trader. That is a little bit of an outdated nautical term, suggesting that Miss Wavertree, she gets around and she sees wherever she likes. We don't shame her, though. She can do as she pleases. She saw 6 mainland continents during her 25 years. Sorry, Antarctica. Ending our tour in the year 1910 because of a massive hurricane off the coast of an area known as Cape Horn, just beneath Chile at the very, very bottom of South America here. Trade winds beginning at the equator, heading southward towards Cape Horn, picking up speed, reaching top speeds of 150 miles per hour. Take a look at this photo, folks. Dangerous, dangerous times. Notice the actual sailors hanging on for dear life on the mast here. You can see 4 of them hanging on. Very, very blistering winds here. And guess what? Our vertical masts, they did not survive that hurricane of 1910. When one of them falls, oops, you got dominoes. To the right, we would have spaces on board for the captain's crew. They're higher ranking officers, as you would see here.
A lot nicer than the cruise quarters.
So welcome, folks. You are currently inside of the captain's saloon, also known as the captain's quarters. It is both a place of business and a place where the captain and his family would live. Behind you, you'll see Captain William Masson and his wife Marion and their 2 children. And then, of course, we also have Captain George Spears, who is not pictured here, but was one of the few sailors who actually wrote novels about his time at sea, specifically Wavertree and Ocean Wanderer. So right over here to the left would be the largest individual bedroom space. But tell me, folks, is there any furniture in there?
There is not.
I wonder why that is. Remember this little moment here? 1910 was quite a year, folks, and especially if you forget to close a certain thing right above me. Oops, water's gonna come on in if you don't close that, folks. Now, I won't lie to you, folks, not everything you're seeing here is original, because lots of water damage, right? So a good 60% of what you're seeing here is restored. A couple of things I'll mention. This here is called the negotiation table, where our captain would sit and bring other sea merchants onto this ship in order to make trade deals for cargo, in order to make more cheddar for guess who? Queen Bee. You'll notice that is Marianne's bedroom there, and that she was not also just a family member, or not just the wife of our Captain William Masson. She was also a medical practitioner as well, and would help fight scurvy if anyone was sick. There would be a tin of sauerkraut that you would notice towards the foot of the bed. It's not actually going to be in there right now, but if anybody had scurvy, she would be able to help fight that using that tin of sauerkraut. She'd stuff a spoonful into your mouth. Apparently it had all the vitamins and minerals you would need to help. Now, as I mentioned, this area was restored, so not everything is original, but take a look at these adornments over here. They used to be in gold, but you'll notice RWL. What does that stand for? That is the Ralph W. Leyland Shipping Company out of Liverpool, where this ship was originally built. But notice over here. Does this say RWL, folks?
No.
No, that is CWW, none other than our good friend Calvin Walker, who helped with the restoration of this area. Cheeky little Easter egg. This here is our helm, or our steering wheel, as some of you commonly know it. You would not drive it from the front, because again, we're at the back of the ship. We're not seeing anything important in front of us, folks. As you can see on this picture here, you would not stand in front of the wheel, you would stand behind it, with your hands on the high spoke and the medium spoke, facing the direction of the sails behind you, or rather in front of you at this point. I mentioned that this here is a wind-powered vessel. If anyone is interested in partaking in this part, I'd be happy to take a couple of volunteers here. But this, as I mentioned, is a wind-powered ship with 3 vertical beams. This is in fact the very last triple-masted, so 3 vertical masts, iron-hulled, so the hull is the body of the ship and it's made out of iron. This is the very last cargo ship of its kind on planet Earth. All other cargo ships have been scrapped in order to make more materials for ocean liners, bigger and bigger ships like the Titanic. This is the last one in existence because it spent 60 years being trapped in South America because of that hurricane. In the year 1970, South Street Seaport Museum purchased it in Buenos Aires, dragged it all the way back to Staten Island for repairs. 30 years later, we're standing here, folks. This device, there would be 6 particular ropes that would have sails attached to them, each of those sails being pretty heavy, around 100 pounds each, and they would have to be hoisted 167 feet on the mast. You could try to use your hands for that. It would take a little time, leading to a lot of rope burn. So instead, this here is called the capstan. It is a physics device known as a simple machine, which means it does our work for us. Once we take this master rope called the downhaul, this controls all of the other ropes. So if you were to pull on this, all of the others would respond when you are pulling on it. So you would wrap this downhaul right around the middle, hence why you see all the paint wear and tear. Then you'd insert this capstan bar into the lever like so. You'd have 4 other friends to help you do the same thing, and when you'd be able to push in this direction, guess what? You're hoisting up 6 sails all together. So when you'd wrap that downhaul around the middle, some of that rope would be hanging right around here. I'm going to be the imaginary rope. And when you get up to the imaginary rope, you're going to have to put your one leg over because you have to hop over that line, otherwise you trip. So you'll also hear some of the captain's commands. I'll say either faster or slower. And I will tell you what's happening to our 6 imaginary cells. I'm not going to make you haul 600 pounds. So, I'm going to count it down. You want to make sure that we're all facing in the same direction in which you are looking at the next person's back. So, right folks, are we feeling ready on the capstan? Beautiful, I'll count it down. 3, 2, 1, commence. 1 foot over, 1 foot over. 1 foot over. We got 6 sails going up today. Very good, folks. We've only got 1 sail all the way up. Go free, go faster if you can. 2 sails up. Very good, very good. 3 sails up. Slower. Very good, very good. 4 sails. I feel the wind picking back up again. Faster. 5 sails. And 6 sails. Slower. And halt. Very good, folks. You didn't notice it, but 4 hours just passed before your very eyes.
So we saw the waiver tree. We saw the Ambrose. It's cool that this is a free exhibit. We came down, we just made reservations online, and we did tours with both these ships and walked around the little tiny museum. I love stuff like this in New York City. South Street Seaport is definitely a cool spot. If you're visiting, or if you're local and haven't come here in a while, come back, it's pretty awesome. Interesting story of the Ambrose. We heard that this ship, the reason it was created was because from 1850 to 1907, they built the channel that led ships in and out of the harbor here. And because they couldn't build a tower in the ocean to signal where it was, this ship was parked out there, signaling people, hey, this way in so you don't crash. And the new Pier 17, which is weird. I remember being a kid coming here. I think I came here with my grandparents first, then later in life with Boy Scouts and family. And then me and my friends used to come down here on weekends, come into the city and I would get cool stuff. There was a hologram shop. I have a hologram at home of a big ball. It's a lot different than my childhood. I don't know, something about this mall. I don't think I'm gonna see my hologram store or my Spencer's Gifts. I would say this is the cool new thing about the new Pier 17. Rooftop access. We get to take in all the good views. Got a great view looking at the Brooklyn Bridge with the Manhattan Bridge behind it. Right now we are looking at Brooklyn. Those cars are driving on the Brooklyn-Queens Expressway, and right above it, a nice park, the Brooklyn Promenade. It is crazy from when me and Joy came here as a kid, how much more built up downtown Brooklyn looks. But that is just how New York City is going. Because when I turn around, look at Manhattan, you can see skyscrapers still going up. It's funny, things that used to be some of the tallest buildings in the world just towered over. You see this thing right there? We have the old Woolworth building.
That's awesome.
Once was one of the tallest buildings in the world. Now look at this. It's minuscule compared to these things. So there you have it. We started at Fraunces Tavern, had a little break to eat. It wasn't a food review, so we don't want to show you that much. Historic building where George Washington actually told other soldiers, sorry guys, war's over, I'm going home. Then we walked over here to South Street Seaport, which I love. Got to go on 2 cool ships, got tours of them, ending with a great view of the Manhattan Bridge and the Brooklyn Bridge. Mm-hmm. You can't beat that. That is a good way to spend a day in New York City. It is. All right, I think we could call it.
I think so.
South Street Seaport. Been here, done that. Remember, folks, safe travels.
Good eats.
And live life. Doesn't that building remind you of playing Jenga? Look at it. It just looks like someone stacked all those blocks willy-nilly. That's crazy.